emphasized that I was from the West, that I had roots in farming, that I had roots in engineering, I had roots in oil and gas, I had roots in philanthropy. I had all sorts of connections to community in the West. But the driving point that I thought was the most important, this was completely politically incorrect, but what I wrote was at number 4 in this list of 10. Number 4 was, it takes a combination of balls, brains, and a wallet to do deals, and you appear to be short of all 3 on the show. The other dragons all acknowledged seeing that, as I'm sure just about everybody at CBC did. The real point I was trying to make was that you have to have cash to do a deal, and if they're not closing their deals, maybe they don't have cash. You have to have courage, and you have to have commitment. You have to believe in the business, and then you have to want to be part of it, the passion to follow through. And so they took that as a message from me that I intended to come on the show and do deals. So in the 3 seasons I was there, season 3, 4, 5 on the show, I did a total of 60 deals. 30 of those closed. I invested $4.5 million in a variety of businesses. One of them was a large mistake, $1.5 million that didn't work. But the other $3 million mostly still riding in a variety of businesses, and I'll come back to one of the key successes. But I only did 30 deals out of the 60 that I did a handshake on air. Doesn't seem like a lot. Well, it's half. In that same time frame, the other dragons committed something like $400,000 in total, 100 each, to a total of 7 deals. And I just learned in an article yesterday that one of those deals actually didn't close. It was a verbal commitment that if you ever need the money, I'll give it to you. Not really the essence of transparency. And that was probably one of the most frustrating parts of the show for me, was in the 5th season where they did a follow-up show. And it was the highest viewership the show had ever had. Now, to give context, the 1st season of the show, 250,000 viewers. Apparently that many people turn on the TV no matter what's on. So that's how it starts. 2nd season, it was 500,000. The season I joined, we hit 1 million, and not because of me, but with me. Then we hit 1.5 to 1.6, 1.7 million in season 4, my 2nd season. And in the final season, it averaged 2.1, 2.2 million, except for one night, the follow-up show, and it was 2.5 million viewers. Now my blood boiled when I watched the follow-up show. I had been promised follow-ups, I'd been promised it in writing, I'd been promised it verbally, I'd been promised it by handshake. And quite frankly, all I needed was handshake. And now we get this follow-up show. And what they did was they neutered the dragons out of it. They would say, and then the dragon invested $200,000 for 20% of the business, and here's how it's going. Absolutely no tie back to the dragon in question. Why? They featured 10 shows or 10 deals on that show. 8 of them were mine. And so if they had done the Brett show, it would have exacerbated the soft underbelly of the show, which was the fact that the other dragons weren't doing their deals. Now, to be crystal clear and very fair, by contract, and this show's active in 30 countries around the world, dragons are not obligated to do deals. The question is, what have you done on air, and whether you, the individual dragon, choose to follow through. Now, as you may have noticed if you watched the show, I had a handshake with every person that I did a deal with. Handshake governs. So I thought I had a moral commitment to do my best to get a deal done. There was people who came on the show who actually didn't want a deal, they just wanted a television profile, so we let some of them off the hook. There was other people who said, I've got a signed memorandum of understanding. No, they actually had an email saying, we'd like to follow up with you. So there's a big difference. So some of those deals just didn't have a hope of going anywhere. CBC authorized a book on how deals are done on the show, and the book outlined every deal that was done. And of course, it was largely mine, but of course it never said the dragon, or me, it was just the dragon then said, the dragon, the dragon, the dragon. And my frustration boiled over there as well, because of the 30 deals I did, 26 or 7 changed from the show to what I actually did. And yet this book, all it focused on was what was said on the show, and then talked like it had actually unfolded as a done deal. And I knew that many of them that were done on the air actually never closed. So again, misleading, misrepresenting, all of that. My frustration with the other dragons also boiled over on a couple of points where I talk about what I call the theatrical rudeness or the faux or pretend business commentary. Now, how many of you actually watch Dragon's Den? All right. How many of you watched it for business advice? Good answer. You gotta be a little careful. If you want business advice from a reality TV show, you watch Real Housewives of Vancouver or one of those. Those girls have figured out the world of business. My comment about reality TV, all of it scripted, encouraged, or managed, but in the sense that the dragons then gave their own commentary, I get frustrated because it was misleading. When a dragon says, I can't invest in you because you have no sales, guess what? Startups have no sales. What was the purpose of the show? To bring ideas and startups to the fruition, possibly get a dragon investment. So the dragon was using a very illogical excuse to exit. Creates good TV, I can't invest in you because you have no sales, as if there's something wrong with you. The dragon should have said, I don't have the intellectual capacity to figure out the value of your business. I can't give you any value for sweat equity or any of your intellectual property or your ideas. I can't ever make a forecast of future revenues and profits and do a net present value analysis. I don't have the intellectual capacity. That's what they should have said, but of course that doesn't make good TV. It's easier to slam the person on the other side of the television or the other side of the studio and say, you have no sales. Then there was a dragon who often offered air miles in exchange for equity. I can't pay my gas bill with air miles. I mean, they got to run a real business. So it was misleading in the sense that nobody's really going to take air miles in exchange for equity in a business. But it looked like the dragon was making an offer. And then there was the sheer stupidity of an offer that would say, I'll give you the amount. And by the way, the rules of the show were, if someone came on the show asking for $100,000, they had to leave with $100,000, but they might have to give up, instead of 10% of the business, 50 or 60 or 70% of the business if the valuation didn't hold together in the eyes of the dragon. So here we have dragons making offers that say, I'll give you the money you're asking for, but I need 51% of the business. I can't imagine there was a single person who came on that show going, geez, I hope Kevin takes over my business. Not gonna happen. Makes no sense at all. So it makes for good TV where someone says, I'll give you an offer, but I need to control your show or control your business. But the reality is they were gonna get turned down. So it looked like an offer, again, just for television. So reality TV encourages that sort of, if you will, activity. Now, I criticize the show. I'm done with the criticizing because I want to celebrate the show. One of the things that show has done better than any other show, probably any other book, any other course, is plant seeds. And this crowd knows better than all. Crops you don't plant don't grow. And in this case, we're planting seeds of entrepreneurship. And so as much as the conversation's a bit confused at the start, what we're doing is inspiring a nation to look differently at the world of entrepreneurship. The thought that every one of us could or should or might want to be an entrepreneur at some point. I hearken back to my earlier comment that the original entrepreneurs, the farmers, the trappers, the hunters, the fur traders, were the people that opened our nation. And somehow we got this idea that government and big business dictate the show. The reality is we do. We the people, and we forget that sometimes. Entrepreneurs are some of the most powerful individuals, organizations, companies, and some of them grow to big companies for sure, get bought and sold. But it's the entrepreneurial spirit that I want to continue to celebrate. And on that, I'm going to talk for just a few moments about what I call the 3 elements of empowerment. And that for me is the lifelong study. And some of you are going to go, yeah, I'm too old to learn. No, you're not. The lifelong study of 3 things, I think, is one of the most powerful integrations that you can have as a businessman. There isn't a farmer who isn't an entrepreneur and therefore a businessman. Now, my thought process. Number 1 is the study of marketing. If you don't know how to market yourself, your product, your brand, or the things that you do, you're not going to fully appreciate how your competitors are running past you. The simplicity of understanding that a business card has 6 sides is often lost on people. It's your point of differentiation. Our youth, the most important marketing document you will ever prepare is called your resume. Marketing you. The advent of social media is changing the way we connect. I'm sure many of you here know the original search engine optimization that was done in the yellow pages was calling your business AA Aardvark Auto Body. is that you came first in the yellow pages. That's all that's happening now with SEO, search engine optimization. Whenever you look up a business, and there isn't a business in the world that doesn't, shouldn't, or could benefit from some sort of online presence. You need to be found. And the yellow pages is just history, you know that. But the modern form is to have some sort of a presence, whether it's a blog site, a Facebook page, or your own website, or to be a subset of some other website. But you have to have a presence in order to be found. It's a two-way street. You need to find the world needs to find you. And so I emphasize the importance of social media. I don't know, how many of you are on Facebook? A fair number. Twitter? How many of you are active on Twitter? Stop that. That's just a stupid use of time. I'm active on Twitter, but that's because Caitlin's here. So thank you, Caitlin, for your support in that regard. My dog's on Twitter. I mean, hell, I understand how the game works. And the real point I'm driving at when I ask you to identify or self-identify in terms of active on Facebook or Twitter is it's one of the most amazing connecting tools, both of the many social media platforms. And I'm not suggesting that you join to be active, but I think it's important that you join to be present. You join to understand how these tools work. Because once again, in the world of business, and I know, appreciate, sometimes in the entrepreneurial world, you're set in your ways and you don't have a logical reason to be connected that way. Just understand how the tools work. What about LinkedIn? There's a lot of our youth will have LinkedIn. That's really how you put a resume out. Instagram, if you want to take pictures of cupcakes and kittens and stuff, there's not much other reason for that. What about Tinder? I'll explain that later for those of you who have no idea what just happened. But there's nobody on Tinder in this room, which is quite amazing statistically. And, I mean, Caitlin, at least you could, oh no, you're off Twitter now. Anyway, the real point is the advent of social media is changing how we interconnect and interact. Social media, marketing. Number two is the study of entrepreneurship, and I don't mean the tools of entrepreneurship. I mean the people who've gone before. Great farmers, great individuals who've built businesses of all kinds. And I don't mean just studying the Pattisons or the Irvings or the Richardsons or the Riddells or the Edwards and some iconic business entrepreneurs in the Canadian context, but real people doing real things, whether it's a short line farm equipment dealer or someone who's growing their farm business or farm ag business in some very, very impressive way. Understand by role models, understand by example, copying, mimicking. There's nothing wrong with stealing good ideas and running with them, because there's lots of room in the marketplace. And I'm far more interested, when I'm backing a business, I'd rather back someone building a couch than someone who has a patent so that they could possibly have a unique idea with a short-term run to market before foreign markets knock off the patent and compete and kill them. I'd rather have someone who understands first to market, best to market, quality of service, quality of product. But the thought process of understanding how entrepreneurs think. And again, it comes back a little bit to watching Dragon's Den. We have a lot of fun with things like that. And the third thing that I think is extraordinarily important in the world of business, the world of entrepreneurship, is the study of philanthropy. I made a lot of money giving money away because we were strategic. When I built the investment bank with my partners, we chose to give 2.5% of our pre-tax profits to charity, but we also called that 2.5% our marketing budget. Charity and marketing, one and the same. We didn't ever run advertisements saying, look at us. We just did good charity work. And that built relationships, contacts, and connections across the entire spectrum of our Calgary community, if you will. We made sure that every check we sent out, and as a little group, we were 30 people supporting 200 charities. Every check that went out went to every member of the board of a given charity that we cared about. Who did we care about? We cared about clients, past, present, and of course, future. We cared about the spouses of clients, past, present, and future. And that meant in order to pick them out of the crowd, we had to understand our clients. We had to know the people that we were trying to do business with or were doing business with. We also chose to identify community leaders, people who might just go, who's First Energy? But we built our brand at an extraordinary pace relative to, and within a couple of years, we were as well known a brand as any of the national banks who had millions and millions of dollars of advertising and 100 years of presence. And there we were in 2 years running equal with them because we used charity strategically. And some said, geez, that's a little bit mercenary to be using charity for your own benefit. Just a minute, every sponsorship is a two-way street. Every time someone puts a picture in the paper with an oversized check, that's a two-way street. And what's wrong with asking a charity to give you something in recognition, while at the same time maybe being accountable to you for the dollars you've given them? So we created engagement with a lot of different charities, and it was powerful. It was an absolute game changer. The partners gave, the firm gave. We created events in Calgary that had never been done before, where we said, we'll throw the party. We want you to bring a charity check payable to our charity or choice of charities in the amount of your choosing. And some people, friends of mine in Toronto, go, you must get screwed whenever you do that.